Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the spring 2023 Dungeons and Dragons OGL 1.1 leak firestorm, and today we're going to talk about trolling. All right, so and we're going to let's talk about trolling. Okay, so all right. I have sympathy for Hasbro about being suspected of trolling because I am often suspected of trolling. So let's get into this. Talk about trolling, right? So one, just in case you don't know, Wizards of the Coast, actually Hasbro, actually responded to the spring 2023 D&D OGL 1.1 leak firestorm. Okay, they actually put out an official statement responding to all of this, right? And now we can actually all get on the same page and talk and stop talking about wisps of smoke and fear mongering and talk about real news, right? Because this is something like the leaks didn't matter. Like the leaks were leaks, right? And I can tell you right now, we all need to step back from considering leaks evidence. They're not evidence, okay? It's one corporation saying this other corporation released this. No, we need to worry about what companies officially release. This was a firestorm, but the reality is there was a whole bunch of decisions made, there's a whole bunch of accusations made, and none of it based on evidence. It's all based on leaks, right? And we really, as a group, right, people who are doing commentary, we need to really start having a conversation about how we are going to deal with leaks and how we're going to report on it and how we're going to commentate on it and what we consider real and what we don't, right? We need to start having this conversation, and it's very interesting. Okay, but I get people coming up here on my channel at least every week, if not every day, and people will say you're trolling, right, to me, right? And they're like, you are trolling, and I'm like, I'm not trolling. I believe what I say, I mean what I say. I'm not trolling you, right? Like, and this is shocking to people because they're essentially what they're saying is they're like, wait a second, wait, you're just saying something that's completely different than what every other channel is saying, right? And they're absolutely shocked, like, that people would say something that 100 other channels aren't saying, right? Now, this is by design. I have literally designed my channel where I have most of my opinions, okay, I agree with other channels. I never waste your time with it, right? And what shocks me is that anyone, like what we just went through, right? It was literally 500 channels saying Hasbro is a bunch of corporate greed mongers and they don't care about you and they're mismanaging Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, and actually way worse than that, right, too. Right, just terrible accusations, and it was just like Indestructible Boy saying the same thing Nerd Immersion is saying the same thing Game On is saying the same thing AJ Pickett is saying the same thing, and it just goes channel to channel to channel, right? And people are shocked that I say something different, right? That's by design. If I agree with some other channel, I'm not going to repeat their noise. I don't want to be an echo chamber, right? It's like you should wait until you have something unique to say, right? And then I will say this too: I do work hard, right? I keep the biggest amount of work I do on this channel is this list I have. I keep it in Trello, and it is it's got to be over 1,000 ideas at this point, right? And it's actually multiple lists at this point. And any unique thought in my head, I put it down, and then I let them percolate and see what can reach the top, right? So the reality is, this is very real in that, I'm shocked. People are shocked that I say things that are different, and they're like, you gotta be trolling. You could not possibly be saying this. I'm like, yes, I am very legitimately saying this, right? I don't want to be an echo chamber, and I'm shocked that you run off to 50 different channels all spouting the same noise, right? So I'm just shocked at, I'm shocked at your lack of innovation and your lack of originality and your willingness to eat the same pablum from 50 different channels, right? Like, it's just, I don't get what, and the reality is I get it. I I get a ton of people who like swear they will never return to this channel, and they're right back on this channel. And the reason, and I will say, I think that is my channel's great. Actually, I think my channel is good for a lot of reasons, right? But the reality is, I really think there's something real happening here, right? I don't just spout the same noise, and people read that as trolling, okay? And it's not trolling. I'm not trolling anyone, right? Okay? I'm not trolling anybody, all right? So just want you to be aware of that, okay? All right. Now, so what I do looks like trolling. It is not. And people are, and I actually have, I have people who will come along and explain to other people, like, no, you don't understand. He very legitimately means exactly what he is saying, right? Like, I don't even waste my time, because I get it so often that I'm like, they're like, no, you don't know Scott Garibay. He really is his view is this unique, right? Like, and it's nice for people who have been around who are like, no, you don't know. This is Scott Garibay. This is a different beast, man. Like, and that's nice. It's nice that people do my work for me sometimes, which is very nice, right? Because I don't have time to clarify and say, listen, there's 4,300 videos here. You have no idea what my history is. You don't know who I am. You got homework to do. And I don't want to tell people they got homework, right? But the reality is, a lot of times they do. That's just the way the internet works, right? So I get accused of trolling all the time. So here's what happened, right? So I have great sympathy for Hasbro. So Hasbro drops a for realsies response to the 2023 spring D&D OGL 1.0 leak firestorm, right? They for realsies respond to this, right? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second, where did they respond? Yes, they responded on, when I clicked the link to see the official, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm reading this on my phone, and I'm reading it on my signed in account on my D&D Beyond account, right? And I was like, wait a second, every OGL OSR champion, and what I mean by that is the OGL 1.0 creators and the OSR creators, okay? I'm calling them collectively together the OGL OSR champions. They all just deleted, they all just canceled their subscriptions, right? So they can't even, like, are they even able to access this, right? If they're deleting their accounts, right? Are they even able to access this, right? So literally, right? Literally, the platform that everybody who is desperately seeking this, everybody who is absolutely desperately seeking this information, they don't even have the access they had before to access the material, because this is truly like, you're like, wait a second, they released the statement on literally the things that people just deleted their accounts on and canceled their subscriptions on. Wow. That, like, and I was like, that is a deep cut troll, right? I was like, that is a deep cut troll, right? Like, just like, hey, because that 100%, in my humble opinion, that absolutely confirms what I've been saying from the beginning, right? OGL, OSR champions, all of the opinions, none of the facts. Literally just deleted their accounts, right? Canceled their subscriptions, literally impacted their ability to access information on D&D Beyond, right? So that they don't even have, now they're constantly going to be talking about things that are released on D&D Beyond, and they don't even have the same access that they had before. They have this incredibly limited access. Are they going to know what's on D&D Beyond? No. They just deleted their account and or canceled their subscription. So their access isn't the same as mine, right? One of the things that everybody was saying is, they're like, oh, hey, there's an internal server thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got content over on D&D Beyond. I rushed right over. Not a single error. Access to every single thing. And so the OGL, OSR, all the opinions, none of the facts. oh my gosh, the servers are melting over on, over on D&D Beyond. I go over, everything's fine. Don't hit a single 404, baby. Right? Like, just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Right? And there's no 501s, nothing. Right? No errors. Right? All this reporting. All right? Like, yeah, I don't think so, bud. Right? Like, and it is incredible. It is truly incredible. And so the reality is, when I looked at this, I was like, that is a deep cut troll that they released the statement literally on the platform that all these OGL and OSR people just cut off or changed their access to, right? Like, I'm like, wow, right? That is a deep cut troll. But I was wrong. It was not a deep cut troll, and here's why. They're not trolling anybody, right? They paid $140 million for D&D Beyond, and they have been saying for months, like close to a year, if you want the freshest, latest, you want that new, fresh, you're going to get it on D&D Beyond, right? And it's true. I go to D&D, and I have completely shifted. Go back 2 years ago. You'll hear me talking smack about D&D Beyond, right? But they transformed it. They transformed it into a place where, if Stranger Things drops, you're going to get Vecna there, right? You're going to get Monster Compendium pages there. You're going to get entire adventures for free there, right? And this is what really, I think, is so sad, just so sad, right? Is the OGL and the OSR, right? OGL and the OSR champions are like, burn it all down. D&D be gone. D&D be gone, right? Ripping off the mask and saying, the OGL and the OSR were never allies of Dungeons & Dragons. We were always its deepest threat. And one of the things, so D&D Beyond, right? You know who says that? OGL and OSR champions say, D&D be gone, right? And guess who their voices join? Every 1980s evangelical Christian. Right. Yeah. So the the virtual war cry of the OGL OSR champions is literally the same war cry as the Satanic Panic 1980s evangelical Christians. D&D be gone. Right? So, yeah, great job, OGL and OSR champions. You guys have literally made a world in which the OGL and the OSR champions echo the and am I surprised? Old school rules? Right? Am I surprised? A bunch of old grognards are shouting the same thing that Dungeons & Dragons' deepest enemies shouted in 1984? No, I'm not, right? Of course, so OSR, it's very obvious, they're old school, right? So of course they would shout out, an anti Dungeons & Dragons slogan straight from 1984. And the OGL, why would they do it? Because they're copiers, right? You're never gonna hear original words out of their mouths, right? It's a copy culture. Right? And so it really did look to me like Hasbro was trolling people. They were like, hey, we see that you canceled your subscription or you deleted your account. We're literally going to make it so that you're punished. And actually, they were like, oh, well, you guys don't need facts, right? You could just report on rumor, right? Like the OGL and the OSR don't need facts. They don't need to be able to access the actual statement, right? One person will skim it, and then 50 other channels will copy and report on the will-o-wisps of news, not actual news, right? So they were like, we don't need to, and they knew. They were like, we can't inform the OGL and the OSR champions. They're not bound by facts. They just want to talk about rumor, right? They want to talk about leaks. They want to talk about he said, right? Like they want to have a telephone conversation, pass the facts down the line, and change it on every single point, right? So the reality is Hasbro was not trolling. They said months ago, right, that well over a year ago, they're like, hey, you want that fresh, you want that new, you're going to get it on D&D Beyond. That is the authoritative source for everything Dungeons & Dragons now. And when you go there, you get stuff. They give new material out constantly, and it is good stuff. Like full color, well written, well laid out, right? Now, not as good as the books, but pretty darn good for web material, right? And certainly better than anything you're going to find on the OSR OGL side, right? And so they were like, hey, we spent $140 million on this. We want you to come here, right? and they're saying, we're going to give you reasons to come here. You want the freshest, you want the newest, you want the truest, it's right here on D&D Beyond. So they were not trolling, even though it looked like trolling. And I have incredible sympathy for Hasbro, because it legit very much looked like trolling, right? But it was not trolling. They were just doing what they had said, communicated a year ago. And I just want to say to you out there, I know what I say often sounds like trolling to your ears, because you will not hear the same noise here that you hear everywhere else. You are going to get new, fresh, unique, right? I can guarantee you're not going to hear on any other channel, on any other channel what you hear here. Nothing, right? Like, and that is why my deepest adversaries cannot quit this channel, and why I have a list of people who are like, I will never come to your channel again, and come here constantly, right? So yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I thank you for your patience. I wanted to talk about trolling because, like, this really hit deep. That's incredible, right? And it looked like trolling, but it wasn't, just like my channel. All that's my humble opinion, every word of it. I'm eager to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and you send your traffic. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.